I'm George Stewart. I was with number 23 Squadron RAF in 1944 during World War II. Mosquito has been a very sensitive experience for me, but it brought me through a war. My feeling for the Mosquito today is the feeling I had for the Mosquito when I was 16 and 17. I consider the Mosquito to be magic.
Stewart's Mosquito career was launched in the spring of 1943 when he was only 18 years old, with a fateful meeting.
At the selection board in Bournemouth, everybody was being told they were going to go on heavy bombers by night, and I would accept that, but in my heart of hearts, first I wanted to be a pilot, second I wanted to fly Mosquitoes, third I wanted to get 1,000 hours on Mosquitoes. It was an impossible dream. He said, well, Stewart, what would you like? I said, well, sir, if you're not fooling, I would really want to fly the de Havilland Mosquito. He says, well, I can't send you there directly, but I will send you to a night fighter advanced flying unit at Grantham. I said, sir, I would be so grateful to do that. He says, it's done. A year almost to the day after I started flying at Goderich on the Tiger Moth, I started at 19 years of age to fly the de Havilland Mosquito and never looked back. There was a lot of pretty terrifying flying for a youngster who was 19 years of age, going up and flying an airplane like that. My navigator was a very religious French-Canadian, Paul Baudet. We wanted to get through the war intelligently as we could. So I said, Paul, we have an agreement. We're going to fly operations on this. Let's not do nothing dumb. Let's take, if there's a target, an airplane or a train, we'll make one good pass at it. If I'm not good enough to get it in that one pass, we both deserve to live, the enemy and ourselves. What do you think? I agree. We shook hands on that. And I know specific cases where they went back for another shot and they got hit. We were able to do 50 trips and we never had a single abort. One particular time, we were going to the North German plain to Ardorf Marks and Rarel. This is really one of the best nights we had. My navigator said, hey, there's a guy downwind, just got permission to land. So we raced around and caught him on his final approach. And he had his landing lights on, and it was a Ju-88 silhouetted in his own landing lights. And we shot our cannons and machine guns at him, got strikes all over the cockpit area. Then every light went off. We went right across with the searchlights after us, and we pulled up and back up into the downwind leg. On the way up, I saw this black thing going like this, another airplane. And I whipped up past his tail, came back down, and it was a Heinkel 111, and we got a good squirt at it, and there were big sparks and pieces falling off it. So that was unbelievable, that 2 hits within moments. There is always that fear of screwing up, fear of getting lost, fear of being hit and not able to get back home, fear of weather in which we flew without GPS. Ours was by dead reckoning. If you didn't reckon right, you could be dead. And we flew from England to Africa, 1,201 miles, dead reckoning. There's a heck of a lot of growing up when you knowingly face danger because you've got no other choice.
By the end of the war, he had completed 50 operations with 23 Squadron RAF.
Mosquitoes were mosquitoes. To me, I loved all of them. I could hardly wait to get into it for the next flight. So when the war ended, I thought, well, that's the end of my flying, and flying my Mosquitoes, I had almost 600 hours in them. And then I had that crazy third ideal, after flying the Mosquito, to get 1,000 hours on it. Little did I realize then that that would happen, because after the war in 1948, I got more Mosquito flying. So I probably got 1,200 or 1,300 hours total time. The Chinese have bought a bunch, and we're instructing on them. And it was at the time of terrible unrest.
The Mosquitoes were purchased by nationalist Chinese, who were in the midst of a civil war against the communists.
I went over to Hankow to instruct them to train the 3 squadrons that were going to be converted. We had a lot of training accidents. The Chinese lost 50 or 60 out of 150. Because they had crashed so many, they hated the airplane. So we had to change that thinking to show them what an enormous fun RV it would be. We flew in an aerodrome, very unsatisfactory for flying Mosquitoes, in tropical heat, with engines that were liquid cooled. We could hardly get back to the takeoff point before the radiators were ready to blow. We taught them, before they would take off, they could push full rudder with one foot, with no rudder in the other, and go full right rudder to stop turning left. And it was as simple as that. Now, that worked for us in 1948. But then we got them going on this other method, and it saved the day. After the Chinese session was done, we finished up. We went home before 1949, just at the end of the year. They carried on and were driven out of town. They got to Formosa. But our 3 squadrons of guys put off an invasion attempt of 1,000 vessels by sinking or setting fire to half the fleet. And so we made a pretty good contribution to their cause for Chiang Kai-shek.
George Stewart has over an estimated 1,200 flying hours on the Mosquito, likely more than any living Mosquito pilot.
The Mosquito was the realization of not just a boyhood dream, but a dream of my lifetime. And I still treasure it, revel in it, and praise the virtues of the Mosquito.